Hello, my name is Christina Wallis and welcome to my channel where I upload videos about making flowers with your own hands, mostly out of cold porcelain and occasionally out of sugar. Except of course, as many of you would know, I haven't been able to upload many videos lately, and that was due to circumstances somewhat outside my control and mostly time commitments elsewhere, nothing to do with flowers. I might touch on to it later, but for now though, I seem to have managed to find a bit of time to allocate a bit of time just for my YouTube videos, and so I'll be able to make a series of videos which may not be as frequent as before, but certainly will be regular. So with that in mind, I have made a first video and it's about making the middle of a tulip. I think the technical name for it is Pistil. But before we jump into it, could you please like this video, subscribe to this channel if you like flowers, which you probably do, otherwise you wouldn't have been on this channel in the first place, and perhaps share it on your social media, etc, etc. Well, you know the drill, just help my channel out a little bit to perhaps expand a tiny weeny bit, and that would mean I would have more time to make the videos. So now that we got this out of the way, let's jump into it. I hope you find this video useful, learn something new, or at least get inspired. So to begin with, we would need to choose a wire on which our flower would sit. I always use wire 18, which is the thickest wire that you could still bend without kind of breaking your fingers. Having a nice pliers help. I use PME, and yeah, just a bit of glue. Now for those of you who are new to flower craft, I mean, that little hook that I just made on a wire, it would stop the flower, the finished flower, from slipping off the wire, which would obviously be a bit of a disaster. If that does ever happen to you, use super glue, providing you're using cold porcelain and not sugar, obviously. And so here I'm taking 2/3 of the portion of clay that I've allowed for this pistil, and a third, just what I'm holding right now, I'm using for the top of this flower middle. So it's very important to keep your clay out of reach of air when you're not using it. So I've just picked up the rest of my clay and I'm adding it to the previous two. So I was trying to make this top bit as a mono piece and I didn't have much luck. I didn't think it was very practicable or easy to repeat, so I decided not to torture you with that. And yeah, this clay is not very fresh, as I said, and it kind of complicates working with it in some parts, and in some parts it is easier. So yeah, this little bit of wire is now sticking out, which would make the whole top a lot more stable, because the good thing about cold porcelain is that once it's stuck together, it kind of blends and very much becomes a mono piece, more so than sugar, because obviously it solidifies in a totally different way. And now we're going to just remove all the seams where we don't need them. And this is extremely easy to do if your clay is fresh, but as I said, my one isn't, so I'm going to do this as quickly as I can before it completely gets wooden. So yeah, that's one of the stages of preparation. And so now that we've blended the seams more or less, I'm going to use the brush. And the brush is a very, very powerful tool in working with cold porcelain. Yeah, you can smoothen things up with it, put finishing touches, but you could also emphasize some features of whatever it is you're making with the brush. You could clear pathways and push things up, push them down. I find that you could use the level of dryness of your clay very much to your advantage, the different stages of dryness when making flowers. For example, while your clay is still fresher, it's easy to make the little grooves on the top because, yeah, it's just going to come out thinner and easier to manipulate. And the main body work on even such a small part of a flower, it's going to benefit from your clay being a little bit drier. So then when you make an indentation with stick or whatever, indentation stays there, and if you push bits up, they kind of stay in place. But you have to be very careful and don't miss the moment when your clay is beyond repair and is too dry. Keep freshening it up with water or with your brush and then working on it again. But yeah, it will get too dry at some point, and so you might end up with something that is not quite planned or symmetrical, but that comes with experience. As I was saying on my Instagram, I really wasn't enjoying making this pistil initially when I first started. It was like pulling teeth. But by the end of it, I really got into it, and I realized that it actually gives me so much more creative freedom. Not to mention that it's quite a dramatic pistil, and the mold just wouldn't allow for that. So yeah, I'm glad I learned. Anyway, getting back to our flower, now we're going to make these little whiskery things that stick out on all the sides of piston. I believe they're called antler and filament, and we're going to blend them, each antler and each filament, into one whiskery thing, and I believe there are about 6 of them going around pistil. I haven't bothered to actually count them, so there might be more or less or whatever. You could research it if you want to be precise. And yeah, I think if you're working with sugar, you need to work a little bit quicker because it's quite a small little detail. And yeah, this is the shape that I like, but obviously you could make it less pointy, more pointy, and what have you. I like to use a mix of about half-half of clear glue and water so that my dust sticks to it but doesn't clump up. You can play with glue as well. Glue would work just as well, usual domestic glue. And here I have semolina that I crushed with a rolling pin. I've learned that trick from Robert Hines. Just kind of put some on a board or on a table and just crush it with a rolling pin, as simple as that, and it gives it more realistic finish. We could blend it or whatever, you know. And yeah, and that's your pollen imitation. So here I've used wire 28, my favorite wire by far. I go through tons of it really when I make flowers, and there are smaller sizes, but actually they tend to be a little too floppy. And here we go, just one after another, nothing really complicated, but a bit fiddly, that's the only thing. I've missed you guys. I hope you're well. Thank you for all your lovely messages and all the kind words you've sent me. My kids went to school and I got back to work really. It was just one of those things. But yeah. So I think I had a little bit of a pushing over point when someone got in touch with me, a big hotel, very upmarket. Their rooms start from 10,000 a night upwards, and they wanted to do a gig with some flowers made and all the rest of them. So I quoted them, and really what I would have gotten paid from them if I got my quote would have been an equivalent of what an experienced admin worker would have gotten paid, or just average pay really. And if they wanted one bouquet, that would have been a contractor's kind of rate. And yeah, and they just gone a bit like, whoa, why is it a bit too much? It's just like, no, I don't think it is a bit too much, because I can just go and find a job somewhere and that would be that. So why should I get paid less? So anyway, bit of gossip there. So that was a bit of a pushing point. But anyway, back to the tulip. Yeah, very straightforward. You just glue them on, and if you look at real tulips, sometimes this little, what are they called? The whiskery things we just made, basically the pollen sticks, so we call them something more approachable. This pollen stick thing is, sometimes they go over piston and sometimes they go under, and piston sits underneath. So I guess you just either copy a particular flower or take creative license to it. But yeah, if you found that your piston is a bit too big and too long, you could make it shorter by just cutting some off with sharp scissors and then finishing it off again with clay. Or if it's too short, you could make it longer. So don't throw something away just because it doesn't fit size-wise. But I guess you would have thought of that anyway. And of course, there is this element of flower craft that cold porcelain allows you to do. The blending of all different parts of flower, just using a bit of clay, a metal stick that you can get from eBay and Etsy and all sorts of places these days, and just water. And with a bit of experience, you could blend them into this realistic, life-looking mono pieces that flowers have, and that sugar paste wouldn't necessarily let you do. You can do it to an extent. I know I've seen Arati and Mirja do some incredible work on stems using sugar, but it's incredibly difficult. Sorry, Arati, if I mispronounced your surname, by the way. I hope I haven't. But cold porcelain lets you do it just with a little bit of experience, which is why I like this. I love it. I love this medium. Okay, that makes you make these beautiful lifelike flowers.